In one of the previous video where I was demonstrating the Android CLI and Android skills, I got a comment asking why don't I show how to actually install this particular skill, because that would be very useful. So then I thought, why not do it? So in this particular video, we will basically look into how to install a Android skill, how to install a Android CLI, and how to basically make the agent work with Android CLI and
Hi
skills.
folks, CodeTutor here, and my name is Anil Deshpande.
There is a specific order that you will have to go ahead with this particular approach. The first thing that you have to always install is Android CLI. Once you install an Android CLI, it has a built-in mechanism using which you can install the Android skill. But if you just install Android CLI and Android skill and start working with a agent like, say for example, Codex or Cloud Code, then probably you may not get the much required result that you want to see. So the very next thing that you will have to do is configure and do certain setup within your repo so that the agent is able to discover these skills that you have set up, and the agents are able to basically use the Android CLI that if it wants to use. By the end of this particular video, you should be able to basically understand how to do all of this in any Android project repo. So without much further ado, let's get into a demo. If you start searching for Android CLI on Google, this is what you are going to most likely get. There is a web page, and then here somewhere you will see something like download CLI, and when you click on that particular thing, there are certain commands that you have to execute in your bash or whatever the terminal application that you have on your machine. And once you do that, you should be basically able to access the Android CLI. So I already have installed this part. What I have basically done is executed this particular curl script. So that part I won't be able to show because the setup is already done, but I can show you how it actually looks like if at all you want to check what is the version of the Android CLI that you have installed. So I can go to a project here. Don't worry about what the project is. Let's go to the terminal, and here in the terminal I can say Android CLI version, and it should basically able to tell you what version of the Android CLI is right now running on my machine. If you want to update the Android CLI, you can hit Android update, and that will basically update the version of the CLI that you are running. Looks like already I am on the latest version, so this is already pretty good enough. So now you have configured the Android CLI, but I don't have Android skills yet. That is, if you go to the project here, right now I don't have any whole set of skills that you would expect here. Now how do I install that? For that, Android CLI itself provides you a mechanism to install the Android skills. So if you go down here in the Android skills, this is the standard web page, which is a GitHub repository, and there they basically talk about various set of Android skills that they have here. So if you come down here, there are certain commands that you can use to install the Android skills here. You can add specific skill. For example, there is a skill called as R8 analyzer, and if you search for it, there is a something called as R8 analyzer skill, and that is what you will basically install. If you go inside this, at the end of the day, it is nothing but a skill description explaining how that skill is supposed to work. In the same way, if you go back, there is a specific skill on how to use the Android CLI as well. So this will basically allow you to leverage the Android CLI that you just installed on your terminal. And this particular file explains how to use the Android CLI. Now the question is, how do I install all of these skills or some of these skills? You can do both. If you come down here, you can specifically say which particular skill that you want, or if you want to install all the skills, you can say Android skills add hyphen all. Probably you want to install these skills at the individual repo level. So that is where this particular option comes in handy, where you say that you want to install in the current directory. So what I will do is I will copy this and come to the Android Studio, paste this, but then I will also add this part. So this should basically install all the skills in the current directory in which I am working. So let me hit enter and it should basically install all these skills. Now how to verify whether that these skills are actually installed? You can just go to the project here, and now if you go to the skills section, you have all those skills. Those are the exactly the new ones that got added here. These were not there earlier. So the skills are there, but just adding this is not sufficient. You will have to now basically set up a agent which is aware of these skills so that it can invoke these skills. So to do that, we will have to execute a certain set of commands in any agent that you are using. Depending upon which agent that you work with, you will have to invoke that thing. It could be a GitHub Copilot, it could be a Cloud Code, or it could be a Codex. Right now, I am going to use Codex in a terminal form. So I will just use Codex. That should basically invoke the Codex terminal. I will skip the upgrade as of now. So now what I will do is I will basically tell it to go through the whole code base and the skills section of the project and create a agents file with references to skill so that the project can do the Android development with Android skills enabled. So I have copy pasted the same thing here, and now I will hit enter. This should allow it to basically go through the whole set of skills and configurations that we already have in this particular project, and then create a agents.md file with references to all these skills. Because I am using Codex, it will create a agents.md file. If you were using Copilot, it would have created a Copilot instructions.md file. And if you were using Cloud Code, then it would have created a cloud.md file. Regardless of what agent that you use, the concept pretty much remains the same. So let it cook. We will come back to this a bit later. You can see that it recognized that there are around 21 installed project skills that are there. So now it has started creating the agents.md file. So now the agents.md file has got created. So let me just close this, and you can see here that this file is there. So it has created the complete repository guidance, architecture map, implementation conventions, and then you can see that it recognizes the installed skills. So it knows that Android CLI is available, adaptive navigation, testing setup, Android, intent security. So these are all the different skills. Then there are other relevant information that it has. So now our application repo is completely ready with the configuration where it can actually use the Android skills that we have installed. Now, how do I quickly check this? So let me run this particular code. I have application up and running, and what I will say is, for the visible screen, understand the hierarchy of the UI components and explain it to me how it is implemented. And let's hit enter. So you can clearly see that I am using project's Android CLI skill because this requires inspecting the current visible device UI. So it is using the just installed Android CLI skill to basically capture the screen components hierarchy, and then it also got the screen image in the PNG file, and it is also trying to apply Graphify. Graphify is another tool that I use to basically map out the whole code base. So it is using that. I have a separate video on Graphify on how to set it up on any repo, not just Android, anything. You can please check out that. And now it is basically explaining the whole hierarchy of what the component actually looks like in this screen that has been implemented. And you can basically feed this particular information during any debugging or development workflow, and it will do a much better job. And that is exactly the reason why you should install these Android skills and Android CLI in any native Android project repos. If you are doing any Android application development agentically, then it is a must to basically now install these skills and CLI capabilities in that particular repo. It just makes the agentic development of Android application super fast, and the agent actually gets a ability to touch the emulator contents, the code contents, and verify the things in a much better way. That's it in this particular video. And if you want to learn more about any specific agentic capabilities that you can employ in Android application development and you want me to address those, feel free to comment down in the comment section. Thanks for your time. Take care. Bye. That brings us to the end of this particular video. Don't forget to like, comment, share the video and subscribe to the channel. Take care. Bye.